Hello, my stitchy friends. Welcome back. You found Lala Do Stitches. My name is Laura, and I'm really glad you're here with me today. This episode will be a quilting bee, so we're going to talk all things quilting. It's going to be super fun. It's been about 4 months since we met and did this, so there's a lot to share. I've done little clips in with my floss tubes, but this one is exclusive. So normally I start my quilting bees with a featured designer. But I'm not going to do that this time. Instead, I've had some questions about my quilting. I quilt my quilts at home. And so I thought, I don't think I have shared this information in a published episode. I know I've had an episode or two that has been filmed, but then just kind of like never got published because anxiety. and so I don't think I've talked about it before. If I have, sorry. Sorry, not sorry. If I haven't, then this will be good. It'll be new information. I'm not a professional quilter. I am a self-taught enthusiast. So I have read different books. My first free motion quilting book I had in high school was an Alex Anderson book. And it was really good for that level, for beginners. I definitely recommend the Alex Anderson, I don't remember what the title is, Beginning Free Motion Quilting or something along those lines. I definitely recommend it. It was a good way to start. And as far as size of project, I definitely recommend starting small. Start with a table topper or a pillow or, smaller projects so that you can learn the motion. And in fact, when you're just practicing, sandwich 2 pairs of junk fabric, there's no such thing, but fabric you don't mind using up for no intended purpose, and sandwich that with some batting, pin it, and then practice. And yeah, that's how I kind of self-taught. So reading different books and just trying. So isn't that how it is with so many things? Just try, practice. But I do have a couple of current tools that I like to use. So I thought that would be my featured moment for this episode. So the first thing I like to use are surgical gloves. And they are fabulous. They're just basically they're rubber surface gloves if you've never seen them before, and they give you grip, which I tell you what, especially on a bigger project, absolutely saves your forearms and your hands, because you tend to kind of when you're moving stuff around, especially if it's got any weight to it. And this just gives you a much more subtle control over your movement. So I definitely I definitely recommend some kind of sticky glove. There are a lot of the big wigs out there in the quilting world have produced their own version of what is essentially a surgical glove. I was lucky enough, my grandma got her hands on a whole box of them. And so she just gave me 5 or 6 pairs, and I've worn through a couple because eventually the fingertips, the rubber wears off, and that's really what is used for me. And so this is my 2nd or 3rd pair, but they last a long time, and I've really liked it. I will say I have tried on some pairs that I didn't care for. And size matters on them. You want them to be tighter. You don't want a big, loose, baggy glove like a snow glove or anything like that. You want it to be on the tighter, smaller side so that it's not slipping independently of your hand. make sure they fit well. Yeah, so gloves, lifesavers. I pin my quilts. I don't spray baste them. I have done a couple small projects spray basted. It's super slick. It's great. Personally, I don't care for the fumes that are let out, and I don't have an outdoor space to do the spray basting, so I'm not like super exposed, or my family isn't exposed to that. So I choose not to use the spray basting. I just go old school pins. I definitely recommend quilter's pin, which is where are my pins? Way over there. There's a little bend in them, so it's not your traditional straight pin. It's a well, there's how you do that, I guess. I thought I had those turned off. Oh well, that's okay. That was a nice one. Anyways, there's a bend so that it's easier to scoop all your layers up, and so definitely don't buy straight pins. The last two things I have are my current free motion books. So this one is really educational. It's a really good book. First Steps to Free Motion Quilting by Christina Camelli. And let's see what it's really it's informational. It's really good. So it starts with an intro and goes into some like the basic tools, and she talks about gloves, and she talks about different threads. Oh, there's those bent pins she talks about. And so she really goes over the basics. It's a good book. And then in the back, there's different prints, different applications. There's some practice projects. And yeah, this has been a really good book. I've used this a lot. And at this point, I'll usually reference it for like a design potential, and then it will just kind of like sit open on the side to be like, oh yeah, that's the shape I'm supposed to be making, not whatever's happening currently. The second one is far less educational and far more, you know the basics, now let's play. And this book is really fun. It does have some tips at the beginning, but it's not as there's not as much as in this other book. But there are way more quilting motif options and ideas in there, and I've really been having fun with experimenting and playing with that. And so this is Free Motion Quilting Idea Book by Amanda Murphy. It's fabulous. It's really great. But I would say this is not your first free motion quilting book you get. I would get something more along these lines, or the Alex Anderson. So there you have it. Featured moment. Free motion quilting. So I do not draw my lines on first. The only time I will ever draw a line on, I use this cool little clover tool that like presses a line in, so it's not gonna leave any ink or anything. It just makes basically a little crease that you can see, and I only do that if I'm trying to get equidistant spacing in like vertical or horizontal lines. So yeah, this is a slick tool. I use this all the time in half square triangles. I think I've shown this before because it was new to me last year, and I was like, oh, let the angels sing, right? Like, it's a great tool. But other than that, other than straight lines that I want to be truly parallel to each other, I do not draw my lines. I just free motion. I just go for it. And yeah, so it's an adventure every time. But I am a lot more confident than I used to be in the designs I am comfortable with. So it just comes with time and practice. And my first few quilts, I look back at them and I'm like, ugh, oh my goodness, that's not pretty. I was so proud of it at the time, but I can see, we always see our own mistakes and flaws and whatever. quickest, if not exclusively. And anyways, the true testament though is, even though my stitches may have been too long, there's definitely a tendency to move too fast around a curve or something, and so your stitches elongate because the machine is going one speed in theory, right? And so if you move faster, your stitches get longer, and yeah, you're still making stitches at that point, hopefully, but the longer the stitch, the more potential it has to catch on things, right? That's really what it is. It's just like with embroidery. The goal is even stitches. It doesn't matter if they're all a little bit longer or all a little bit shorter, as long as they're consistent. That's what creates a really appealing result. But I will say, despite my gru blah blahs in those older quilts, they are still kicking. I have quilts that are about 20 years old at this point, and the fabric is starting to get tired from wear and washing and all sorts of, like my picnic blanket, I call it, it's not like what anybody would think of as a picnic quilt, but it is just an old retired quilt that is now demoted, if you will, or maybe promoted because it gets a lot more use to outdoor spaces. It's dark enough it can handle being on, grass and dirt and whatever. So we take it on picnics or to the beach or whatever, and I'm not worried if it gets stained or whatever because it's been moved into this, that is its purpose. Anyways, that's one of my older ones that has some really long stitches as I was learning how to control those motions, and it's still doing great. And so don't beat yourself up too bad because it's probably not as bad as you think it is. Anyways, so yeah, I pin, I don't draw lines, I use gloves, and may the odds be ever in my favor, I guess. And we've lost our sunshine. It's actually quite dark. I wonder if I should turn a lamp on. We'll see if it comes back through the clouds. It's a very overcast day, but with like brighter moments through the clouds. So we started with a bright moment and now it's a little darker. Maybe I'll just turn this lamp on. It'll play with our color a little bit, but oh yeah, it's better. That's better. Okay, lamps it is. Lamps for the win. Hi, sweet pea. How you doing? You're a good girl. Okay, so I have 3 finishes to show you, which is exciting. 2 of them, well, one of them you wouldn't have known was a start because I didn't make a video between starting it and finishing it. So that they came from, I made 2 pillows at the end of January from this book, Pillow Talk by Adita Sitar. And I love this book. If I go to, I think it's this last page, you can see all of the different pillows. They're beautiful. And I want to make all but like one of them. And only because this is the only one that I don't want to make. And the only reason I don't want to make it is because I already have a patriotic flaggy pillow. So I don't need 2. But I love all of them. They're so pretty. And I'm excited. They're, especially some of these like rainbowy ones are really versatile. You can change, I mean, any of them, obviously, you can change to fit your palette. In fact, I did that a little bit with mine, but that you'll see in just a second. But especially some of these rainbow ones, like if you don't have any blue in your house and you wanted to do just rusty mauve colors, you could just eliminate blues and replace them. And they're so flexible to customize to your home and your aesthetic. I love this one. For some reason, that one's very appealing to me. That one, and I'm really excited to make this one, and all of them. Anyway, so I'm slowly beginning to pick away at these. And my first 2 were for Valentine's Day. They're even in pillows right now. So this is the first one. And this one's really fun because all of the fabrics, well, not all of the fabrics are fussy cut, but the ones that had images I fussy cut. So we've got like our little Alice in Wonderland rabbit here, and a deer, mushrooms. This one says happy heart. Anyways, super fun. I did a new heart quilting pattern, so this was a bit of an adventure, an experiment, but I really love how it turned out. It's fun. And these are the perfect size for beginning to chest it. So because it's the end of the season and these aren't on my couch anymore, I'm going to show you. These are actually pillow shams, not pillows, which is awesome. And that's in the instructions in the book. So I did a zipper back with mine. I just used white muslin in the inside for my backing, and I used it was a poly cotton blend. I normally go 100% cotton in my battings, but this poly cotton. They had like a weird random size left over from their bolt, and so I got it on discount. And I was like, okay, well, for pillows, that's perfect. I couldn't put this in a bowl cozy or anything that has to go in the microwave, but I'm not going to microwave my pillows, so here they are. That's the first one. I love it. And I love that I've started doing shams, so now I can put these away in much smaller spaces than a pillow requires and just keep using my pillows. The second one, I use the same backing, Very Valentine's. It's an old Valentine's fabric. And this one, which is a bit more Baltimore album feeling, and I use the same heart quilting pattern all over. Now I will say these are fusible appliques, and I debated heavily whether or not to edge these. Traditionally, applique, you fuse it down, and then you secure each piece by stitching around the edges, whether that be by hand or machine or however you choose to do it. But it appeared in the book like they didn't do that, and I thought, okay, as long as these weren't like, squished up and mangled and slept on, it should hold up just fine because you're gluing it down. And there is some quilting. I tried to put like at least a little corner of stitching through every shape. Anyways, there it is. It worked out well, and this has been on our couch for a month, and so far, nothing slipped it off. So far, so good. And I love it. This one was really fiddly. There's a lot of pieces. And they definitely don't. In the heart one, they were like, okay, put them this far apart, and you just use a ruler, and, you make your pillow, and everything centers out really well. This one, they're like, here's your picture. Make it like that. Okay. So it was very fiddly, but it worked out really well, and I'm very, very pleased with the result. So that's a finished, and then I'm gonna scoot my chair over somewhere because I have to stand up to show you this one. Can you see my girl? You're a good dog. So this one, I guess first I should show you, came from American Patchwork and Quilting, Better Homes and Garden, issue 165, which was from August of 2020. I mean, I'm sure there's some digital format or something that you could get your hands on this. But it's called Thin Mints. It's based off of an antique quilt that they've created a pattern for. And I finished the top 2 years ago. I finally got it all quilted. So if you're on my Instagram, you will have already seen this, but now I'm just going to show it here because I want to. Because I love it. I love how it turned out. It's bigger than I remembered. So it's hard. It's hard to photograph. It's hard to share. Yeah. But there it is. And the fabrics are so fun. It's a bit of a I Spy project. Somewhere in here I have unicorns in space. I know. You're jealous. Where is it? Well, it's in here somewhere. I promise it is. But like, so here I've got like little, oh, not me. Pandas and bunnies and pigs. Tiny food. I love tiny food on fabric for some reason. Yarn balls. More pandas. Strawberries. It's just fun. And my quilting, I chose to do kind of a modified all over feather, which has become one of my favorite quilting motifs for an all over. It takes a lot of floss, a thread, which I learned the hard way when I had to go to the store not once, not twice, but thrice to get more thread. We finally made it. Oh, look, here's a lighthouse. It's so much fun. I don't know where my outer space unicorns are. I thought they were right along the edge somewhere, but oh, never mind, I found them. Here. It's so cute. It's so cute. Oh my gosh, all the fabrics in this make me happy. And it was fun because these pieces are so small, it's a scrap buster. Like, I didn't buy any fabric but the border and the backing. Everything else was scraps, just scraps. It's fabulous. And my backing is owls. It's a Corey Dantini print. I love her stuff. And this toss was just so cute. Anyways, that's woohoo! Like a fully finished item. 3 fully finished items. Like, that doesn't happen very much in quilting videos. Because it's a process. Oh, I will confess. Apparently when I bought my fabric, I did the maths wrong. And you could see I had to grow my backing fabric by a solid 5 inches or so on 2 sides. But that's okay. It gives it kind of some character. And I've been wanting to use these elephants for like 1,000 years, so. Oh, I did have a question about how I do my bindings. So I do a double, I cut my bindings 2.5 inches. Sunshine. Told you, brighter moments. 2.5 inches, and then I fold them in half. And I sew them down with the raw edges toward the edge, and then I fold that over. And I have, for the last, how long is it now? 5 years-ish? I have been doing, fancy. I have been doing machine binding. And I need to experiment. I saw one gal on Instagram who goes around her whole quilt. She does everything the same as me, except for when she gets to her securing process. She sets hers on the ironing board and she does a little line of glue like Roxanne's basted glue. And then she presses it down so everything is in place before she goes to sew, because I sew from the top side, not the back. And so I get some moments that are a little wavy. Technically my seam is straight, but my, because I'm following the front. But how much is pulled over can vary, just how tight it was. And I'm doing it from the top so it looks really even. This has been washed, that's why it's all bumpy. Because every new quilt deserves their first bath. And then they're so instantly cozy. Anyways, so I have considered trying the gluing method just to see if I couldn't get a more, as you can see, it's not bad, but there is a little like this seam here is technically a little deeper right there, then, and I've got a fuzzy, you know, that's fine. Fuzzies happen, it's quilting. So yeah, it's not bad, but it's not precision either. So if I ever wanted to be more particular about the precision on the back, I would try the gluing. But you know, I don't mind it because I'm pretty good. My corners are straight, my biased little things, and it's so much easier than hand sewing, and it leaves my hands the strength to do all my cross stitch. So yay for quilts, and I'm just gonna kick it over in the corner for a second. Are you very concerned? Silly girl. Come up. Up. There, say hi to the people. Say hi to the people. This is Grace. If you haven't met her before, she's my girl. She's a good dog. Yes. Okay, off. Good girl. Okay, last finish, and then we'll get on to what else I did. So this one's pretty exciting. I've been working on this about a year. Actually, it should say in my binder of knowledge here, my brain. I think I tucked it into the back since it is done. Oh, apparently I didn't put a date on it. Anyways, I believe I started this last May-ish. That seems right. Fab Farm by Elizabeth Hartman. And you can do it big, or you could do the small little baby quilt. I've had several people reach out and say, oh, I did it as the baby quilt. It was so much fun. And that would go so much faster than what I did because I did the big kahuna, tuna. Anyways, I did the whole thing. So it's taken me just shy of a year. Now, if it was the only project I had been working on, I could have completed this a lot faster, but you know, I get around. I do a lot of things at once. So, if I move my chair, I have the top done. I don't want to hit your tail, baby. Can you scooch, scooch? Good girl. It's always weird standing up in videos. It feels weird, like I'm leaving my post. Okay, I just finished this morning. And I'm not going to be able to get it all in the screen, but... It makes me so happy. Let's get the other half. So I did fix our little goat face. This one, I had reversed this center section here, so his eyes were clear down here. And he was still really cute, but he did look a little sad. So I went in, broke apart the block, and fixed that. It wasn't that bad. And this is something fun. So these are things, it's so funny because last time we met, I had not made I had just finished the chickens. I still needed to do the pigs and the sheep and all of the sunflowers. So that's upwards of 16, 20 blocks, something like that. And I just, through January, got super motivated, and I thought, okay, I'll just do the sheep. And then I really loved doing the sheep, and I did them all. And then I was like, okay, well, I mean, I guess I've got the time. I'll just do some, I'll just do some pigs. And then I did all the pigs. And then I got all of the sunflowers cut out, so middle of the month-ish, you know, it was just one of those days I needed to do something and I didn't really want to think about it. So the sunflowers were ready to go. I just worked on the sunflowers and suddenly all of my blocks were done. It's pretty fabulous. So I have in the quilt, in the quilt they do 2 of each basically. So there's 2 brown cows, 2 black cows, 2 gray sheep, 2 white sheep, you know, blah, blah, blah. Same story through all of the animals. I did each one's different because every animal's different. And so my sheep, I had to do a black sheep. And I love it. My little black sheep. He's so cute. I did have some concerns about his little face not showing because it's pretty blendy, but it worked out so great. I love it. It's so cute. Oh my goodness, my black sheep. He's adorable. Let's see what else. I love, oh my goodness. I love this cow. This black one down here, that one's one of my favorites. And then I love, I mean, I love them all, but if we're picking favorites, my favorite cow is this cow. It's so cute. And I love the floral in the chickens. That worked out just how my brain wanted it to turn out. I love that. Oh, you might notice that I love this horse too. I love them all. I love them all. Oh, you might notice that if it's your first time here, some of my goats have very square faces and some of my goats have more round faces. That was an error. They're all supposed to look like this, and on 2 of them I just got going and I forgot to put those little triangles on, and so that one's a bit harder to get into. You really have to deconstruct the block and then cut more fabric to do those ones. So I decided that the ones with more square faces just have mouths full of grass. They're just munching down because it's a farm. So I left them because it kind of gave a little extra element of personality. Anyways, it's done! It's so exciting and I love it. And I want to get it quilted as soon as possible because I want this out for the summer. It just makes me happy. Now you might notice the keen eye. We discussed this little piece of blue in the middle of the horse. And I literally got it in the top before I remembered that that was something I was thinking about fixing. And I've decided it's in the top and it's just there to stay. Maybe he's stretching his neck and we can just see blue sky. I don't know. The physics of that might not make sense, but that's okay. It's my farm. We have magical physics on my farm. So I need to buy backing and some batting, and then this beast is going to get quilted ASAP because it's happiness and I love it. I'm so happy. Wheel my squeaky chair back over. Okay, so Fab Farm is done but for quilting, which is pretty fantastic. It's pretty fabulous. I am very, very happy about that. It feels like a big project done, and my brain is already spinning with all the new ideas for replacement because I have finished several quilts in the last 4 months, maybe even 4. So I've got holes in my agenda, and I need to fill them with new, beautiful, exciting projects, right? I mean, that seems right. Okay. Get some water. Oh, this was a Christmas present from my sister. She knows me well. This is from Zelda, a video game, because I'm awesome. And it's so cute. It has become my favorite cup. Okay. Get serious, Laura. Or don't. Serious is boring. What's next? Where's my list? It's underneath my brain binder. Okay, so that's all my finishes. Let's talk progress. So at the start of the year, I began my, which you wouldn't know because we haven't met, I guess, my 100 modern quilt blocks. It's a Tula Pink book, and I am doing it featuring Tula Pink fabric. So I have been collecting to start this quilt for oodles of time. Oodles and oodles of time. Years. And it's I finally have enough tulas that when blended with blender prints, solids to low texture prints, I have my palette. A rainbow, naturally. I mean, how can you not do a rainbow with Tula fabrics? I mean, they're just, you don't want to miss a section because they're all so good. So you can see this is what sits in my binder. For each project, I'll have a cover page of some kind depending on the project. So like this is a different project, and most of them I'll have a picture as well so that I have a visual reminder. This is not this project. This is a different project. I'll have a visual reminder of what all of these words and things mean. This one, though, was harder to take a picture of because it's in this funky little book and it's super thick, and while I have a printer, I just haven't made a copy of it. So that's okay. So it's in my book. This is what I'm making. I have decided on this layout. So all of the blocks are just happy rainbow blocks. It's fabulous. So you can see the plan coming together, right? Right? Yeah. I have done, these go so fast. It takes a good minute to choose fabric and then cut out. Not that the blocks are complicated, and that's why it's just decision making, right? Here's my stack of blocks so far. Out of 100, I have done, I want to say 35. I think I've done 35. So I'm about a third of the way through the quilt, which is pretty exciting. So let me get my little board here because they'll be easier to see if I'm not flopping them around with enthusiasm. And we'll just go through the blocks because they're fun. So you'll see as we go through, I usually have chosen to feature a Tula print, and then there are the blenders with it. I'm doing fussy cutting so that as much as possible, as much as is, oh, that's not a very pretty spot. You didn't see anything. It'll all come out in the assembly. Anyway, as much as possible, you actually get to see the print because some of the pieces are pretty small. So like this one's pretty good because you get a nice moment of the fabric. But some of them it's hard to capture the fabric in all of its fabulousness. This is not one of those blocks. This one is hamster heaven and it's delightful. This is one. So it's this really cool giraffe print, but it's kind of like, it's a little artistic at this point, if you will. There's a lion. The book is fun because she didn't name the blocks. She left lines, blank lines for you to go in, and if you chose to, you could name the blocks. And I did that on the first 15. It kind of bugs me that his bum is off center here. I may wind up adjusting that. I don't remember which way this one's supposed to go. If it's that way or that way, I don't know. But anyway, so I named the first like 15 blocks, and then I was like, this is super fun. I just want to sew blocks. But they go super fast. So far you can see they're pretty square, rectangular, and not that many. This one has a bit more piecing involved, but it's not hard. Again, if you just look at the quadrant, that's the block. So it's a quarter log cabin, and then they're just put together to make this really cool secondary pattern. I love blocks that make secondary patterns, and your eye kind of gains an imagination for a little bit. Okay, so now we're going through the blues and the greens, and we're about to go into the purple world. I love the Moda mixed with the Tulas. I think they're really fun texture in there with them. Oh, I love this one. This one's fun. Elephants. And a Frogger. And this one actually is an exception to the rule. That is not a Tula pink bird. I don't remember whose bird that is. Alexander Henry or someone else. Some other company's bird. But I didn't have any blue light background prints, and because I'm doing the same layout, I want to echo as close as I can, for the most part, the same palette that they're using, that they used in the original. I mean Pinkerton. I have a whole nother 3 or 5 yard chunk of this because it's going to be the backing for another quilt because it's awesome. This one you would never know, but it's the most beautiful owl print. I had a hard time cutting into some of these when you've been collecting them for years and years. It's really hard to then be like, okay, butcher time. Even though it's for the intended purpose. Bare face. Peek. We're almost there. It's so fun. It's really, it feels like play, these blocks, because you do one at a time and none of them are the same. And they all have their own little personality, but they're going to come together into this beautiful rainbow. I like this one. Yes. So, a solid start on my 100 blocks. And I have the next, so what I wound up doing is they're broken up into chapters. And if you look at my little plan here, so I, layer cakes. I was waiting on some fabric to come last year when I started formalizing the beginning of this. Getting my color page done, my palette page, and then the 100 blocks, which then became a really vague landmark step. So I broke that into 2 chapters per month. Ideally in 3 months you have all your blocks done. Last month, if you've been with me, you saw my last episode, my last month has been a bit unexpected, and so we're a little behind schedule, but it's not like I gave these months names. We're doing fine. So I've got chapters 1 and 2 done, and I have chapters 3 and 4 cut out and ready to sew. They sew together so fast. I mean, it's way faster to sew them than is the cutting out process. So after I get 3 and 4 sewn, I will prep 5 and 6. And I mean, we're just going to fly through this project, which is a good and a bad thing. I do not have the background fabric yet. I thought, oh, it'll take forever. It's 100 blocks. Like, even if I just did one a day, I guess it's not much more than 3 months, but still. Yeah, I need to get the white background fabric. And then I'm thinking I might do, oh, it looks like that's what they did here, though with bigger chunks. I'm going to use rainbow scraps for my binding and sew together a rainbow binding, which will be fun. I know I'm like 14 steps ahead of where I am right now, but it's okay. Oh, nuts. Where'd those come from? Blue fabrics. They came from somewhere. Oh, maybe there. Okay. Anyways, so this has been super fun. I highly recommend. Yeah, it's been a blast. It's been really fun. Making progress. Put that down here. Okay, so okay, so next thing I worked on, other than Fab Farm and my pillows and my quilt. So like there were lots of things going on at the same time, and then everything got done. And as so often happens, I start the year with, oh, fuzzies. A true quilter is covered in strings. I have been going through, it's, as is so common, at the start of the year, you're like, okay, it's a new year. What do I want to accomplish? What do I want to do? What are my goals? La, 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 la. I didn't make a lot of hard and fast goals because I knew this year would be a bit unpredictable for a plethora of reasons, and I was more right than I knew. But one thing I did really want to do was to start, I feel really low down. Okay, there we go. It's maybe a little better. I don't know. Anyways, I wanted to in one side, out the other. I wanted to start pulling out some of my really old whips. And I saw people talking about this in the cross stitch world where they're like, okay, what's my oldest whip? I'll make that one a focus, and see if we can start decreasing the expanse of time between starting and finishing. And I mean, I'm not like terribly concerned about it. It's not like this deep drive within me. But there are some projects that I would really like to see finished, mostly because I would like to see them in my home. So I've pulled out a couple of older projects that I had started. And the first one is Crabapple Hill, A Gardener's Alphabet. It is gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. I do not care for the brown border, though I can see why she chose it. I already have my border. It's not brown. It's great. That sounded horrible. Hers is great too. Mine just isn't brown because that's not my color. Stop talking. Anyways, I started this years ago. I mean, probably going on 12 years ago. Is that possible? Yes. It's exactly possible. 12 years ago. And I was going to do it with my mother. She bought the pattern. She bought the fabric. We bought the floss. We were both very excited and gung-ho. And I think she got maybe one block done before falling off the bandwagon. And I got 3.5 done. And then life for 12 years. And now I'm ready to pick it up again. So I thought it would be fun. And of course we've lost our light again because welcome to Seattle. But if you've watched my first Quilting Bee Edited trunk show, so it was all the things I've done that I still have in my possession. I've done a lot of things. I spent most of the last decade making things for other people, and so when I retired, I feel too young to have retired, but I worked at quilt shops for 20 years, so it was just kind of this joke, oh, Laura's retiring. When I retired, I was like, okay, I'm going to spend at least a while trying to finish some of my projects from my home. So my house actually looks like a quilter lives here. And it's slowly happening. Slowly things are getting finished, and there are these little touches through the house, not just in this room. And I'm loving that. I'm loving that. Anyways, long story long, here are the finished. Oh, that's what I was saying. When I did my trunk show, I showed these already. So you may have seen these a year ago. But, you know, they're still pretty. And now I'm going to be actively working on it. So I thought I would show the blocks I have finished. For autumn. And this is color crayon. You draw your lines in permanent ink, and then you color in, and then you press onto either a pressing cloth, or I usually press onto like paper, clean paper, and with good heat, and that removes the wax and sets the color, and then you do your stitching, which is really fun. I love the process. It feels very creative. These are out of order. So E, this is the one I just finished. I did this one in either early February or January. Somewhere, I think it was January. And this one, every time I pick it up, I'm like, oh darn, I forgot those parts. So I still have one left to do. This is not completely done. I thought it was, but these brown lines are not stitching. That needs to be stitching. So I've neglected one color. Easy fix. So there's D. And then here is carrots. She calls for Cosmo threads, Cosmo floss for this, and they are delightful to work with. That was embroidery. Crab Apple Hill really was my introduction to, and this one I won't use the board for because it's big. Bees and berries, and this is my favorite block. I love it. Okay, so those are those. And they're fabulous. So I am in the middle. That came out really fabulous. I am in the middle of F. So that's where it is. All I have left to stitch is the blooms. So the forget-me-nots themselves, the flowers. The dirt's done, the words are done, the green is done. And I am shifting the color. They called for a real blue, and I'm going for more of a periwinkle-y with hints of purple-y in there, because in my experience, forget-me-nots have not been blue. They are blendy. They are fun. I don't have words today. They're just not blue. They're not sky blue. They're periwinkly and marbly. Like there's movement in the color. It's not just every flower. It's not like daisies. Anyways, so you can see in the pattern, she just did a blue, and so mine will be just a little bit different, but basically the same. So that's almost done. And then I was like, okay, I'm almost done with F, so what is next? I've been going in alphabetical order, but the next two blocks are small, and I spoke to someone once who does actually completes a lot of Crab Apple Hill quilts, and she said she always recommends doing the biggest blocks first while your motivation is the strongest. So that then if you are still enjoying it, but you're just not as you're kind of like in the slog of a project, then what you're left with are the smaller ones, which go much quicker. So I was like, okay, that makes sense to me. And frankly, I didn't want to stitch purple and blue anyways right now after having just done a purple block. So I'm going to do spring and summer next, which is one of the bigger ones. And I loved, we in the last few days, have cherry blossoms popping, which feels wild. I don't know why. After like an eternal gray forever, like suddenly seeing these pink blossoms on the trees. Not all of them are going, but every once in a while you're driving down the road and you see these pink trees and it's like, what? Is it that time of year? I feel like we're just still in the slog. But, excuse me. Anyways, cherry blossom seems appropriate for my next one. So that's the way I'm going to go. And I have all of my fabric in here, but I've not done any of my tracing or coloring yet. So there's some prep to do on this. When I do that, I will record it so that people can see my process. There are a lot of good tutorials out there. I've said it before. But I have also had requests for how I do it. And so I will record it. I'm not going to promise when it will get published. But I have to do it. So I may as well have a camera going on my hands while I do it, I guess. Yeah. So that'll be fun. Probably won't happen at least until the end of the month though, just because next week is super busy and then we're out of town and then we have company, and so I've got like 3 weeks till life calms down again. So, which is why I'm recording today. Okay, the next project I pulled out of the archives is called My Enchanted Garden. From the book My Enchanted Garden. The author is Gretchen Gibbons, author, designer. And I do have a printout, a cover page for this one. Because sometimes books make it hard to show only the picture and not the copyrighted stuff. So here is what it will look like. Or at least what her version looked like. It's so beautiful. I fell in love with this project the moment I saw this. And I started it, I mean, it has to be over 5 years ago. I did not get very far. I got through a lot of the planning phases of it and prepping. I have most of the blocks prepped. Like I have all of the little pieces tucked into envelopes and the backgrounds are cut and stuff like that. Like it's prepped. But the actual stitching, you know, life was busy. It's hard to... I know what it's like to work a full-time job and come home to life responsibilities and not have very much time to do some of the creative things I love to do. So I totally understand that. I'm grateful to have far more time for my hobbies and my crafts these days, but it has not always been the case, and so I'm blaming that. I'm blaming busy life on why this is as far as it is. So you're gonna look at this and be like, that's not very impressive, and you would not be wrong. So this is where I got to. There used to be a bird here. You can even see the echoes of where it was stitched, but it was stitched in the wrong place, fully stitched down, and I almost left it, but then it just looked squishy. So I took the bird off. I'm gonna reposition it. I have all of the blooms and leaves on now. There's a little bit of embellishment in the leaves to do. And then obviously the vines need to be stitched. I'm sorry it's not pressed. This line was drawn on with a friction pen, so if I press it, I will lose all of my lines, which could be redrawn, but that's a pain and unnecessary. So it's just wrinkly instead. Yeah, so I wanted to get my vines stitched on before I put my bird on. I'm just gonna stitch it over the vines. And then I'll be sure to have it in the right place at that point. Oh, but there are no vines stitched because she recommends a size 8 pearl cotton for stitching. I tried to do a little bit Where did I do it? Somewhere. I started to do a little bit of stitching with 3 strands, or maybe it was even 4 strands of floss, and I just didn't like how it was looking for something that's it's the bones of the operation. I just wanted that strong line, but all I had in my arsenal is size 5 pearl cottons. I have a lot of 5 pearl cottons, and so I pulled out a couple like color options for vines, as much for me being able to see it as for your benefit. These are gorgeous. These are thread gatherer silken pearls. They're my special ones. I don't have very many of these. They're so gorgeous. I will say you have to use shorter lengths because they like to twist on themselves a lot more than a pearl cotton does. But oh my goodness, they're so gorgeous. They make beautiful stitches. Anyways, so I'm undecided whether or not to just use a thicker thread and have a bolder vine, which wouldn't be a bad thing, or try to track down some size 5. I've done a little bit of like online shopping, not like window shopping, online window shopping, and then I even went down to my LNS in hopes. She does at Threadneedle Street, they have needlepoint as well as cross stitch, and so I was hopeful that she might have some pearl cottons, and she did, but they were all size 5, not size 8, which is just a little bit finer. So it's in a bit of a quandary as far as the vine goes. So this one is as done as it's going to get for a minute. I have prepped the second block, which is this one. And I think while I figure out the pearl cotton business, I will start doing the applique on this. And hopefully by the time I'm done with that block, I will have located or chosen a suitable pearl cotton for the vines so that they can be totally completed blocks as we go. Anyways, it's gorgeous. I'm excited about it. I always forget until I pick up applique again, and embroidery too, but especially applique, how much I enjoy it. I really, really enjoy applique. Both wool and needle turn. It's just so much fun. And it goes so much faster than you think it will. I tend to build it up in my head. I'm like, oh, applique, there's so much to it. Like, it's so hard. Stop it, Laura. Stop it. It's not. It's so much fun. I love it, love it. It always goes faster than I think it will. Okay. So that's everything I've done other than just puttering in here, which I do a lot. I do have some plans despite busyness. So first of all, I think my next quilting episode will be at the end of April. I think that's the most realistic timeline because March is basically gone as far as any real quality sewing room time, because this whole room gets taken down when I have company over. And so I can't do anything in here. Anyways, but I do have some plans. So by the end of April, I would like to do this pillow, the stitching, I should say. I would like to do the embroidery on this, which should be totally doable. In fact, it's already begun. I have, oh gosh, it's so wrinkly. Again, from the archives. I've done the Christmas pillow, the winter, Simple Joys of Winter, and it's been one of my favorite decorative pieces every year when I pull it out. And so I have the other seasons. I would really like to finish them. So I've started, once upon a time I started the words on it. And so, I mean, it should really go pretty quickly. Got my little floss here. So I'd like to get the stitching done on that. And then I don't have a picture of this. Well, let's see if I can show you. I suppose that doesn't give any crucial information away. So there's this adorable Tilda cat and bird pillow is what it's called. And it's a free download from her website. She is ridiculously generous with her patterns. And if you go into her freebie section, it's like oodles and oodles of happy, free, beautiful things to make. So I want to do this little cat pillow because I think it's darling, and I have my fabrics kind of chosen out. I did that this morning, picked out some fabrics as I was sorting everything. I was like, okay, I've got to like clean up before I can before I can do a video, because my brain just won't work if it's chaos all around me. And so I was digging in my closet, which is where I keep all of my fabric, and I pulled out my Tildas and picked some pretty fresh ones. And so that will be really fun. And I don't think it will be terribly extensive as far as a project goes. So I'd like to get that done. And then I mentioned earlier that I have some holes in my agenda. I don't consider small projects like pillows to be like fillers. I know that they take time and like they're things, they're projects, but I usually I categorize in my brain quilts and small projects like table runners, pillows, embroidery blocks. They're in a whole other category of my brain. They have a whole file of their own. So those don't count. But I have, and I think I shared this last year, Tilda also, Bird Pond. I have it totally kitted up. I don't know why this is there. That goes with the pillow. I have this all kitted up. It's in a bucket over here. I won't pull it out because hopefully next time you see me, I'll at least have some houses made. I want to start it this year. I don't know. We'll see how fast it goes. If it goes super quickly, which it may, maybe I'll just get the top done this spring and have a goal of getting it quilted by next spring, and that'll be great. If it's something that takes longer, then maybe I'll just piddle at it through spring and summer and pick it up again next year. We'll see how it goes. But I think it's delightful, and I've wanted to make it for years. I had a dear friend, a coworker and dear friend at my last shop. Pre-pandemic, she quit a few months before the pandemic. So it was sad to see her go, but she was a good friend and a good coworker. So I've got some congestion talking weird. I hope it's not translating. Anyways, information you did not need. Anyways, she gifted me a set of fat eighths with this pattern in mind for my birthday one year while we were working together. And so I kind of filled in the holes of the rest of it and have had a kit basically sitting around, 5 years. Anyways, I'm ready to start it. Every spring, something else comes up, or I work on a different project. Last year, I was planning on doing this, and I wound up starting Fab Farm instead. It's all good. It'll happen, but I think this is its moment. It's gonna squeeze in because everything else takes too much brain power, and this one's ready to go. And I honestly, that's a good thing. It's good for it to be mostly thought through at this point, so I can just enjoy the process instead of the whole thing. I'm considering, this one's a mess. I almost didn't bring this up, but because I'm not actually convinced I'll start it yet, but I finished my first full finish of a Jen Kingwell last year, so technically there's like a Jen Kingwell spot available, I might start green tea and sweet beans. Sweet beans. I always want to call it sweet peas. I have loved this one for a long time. And you can see I've got background fabrics and stuff already prepped. I mean, there's still a lot more brain work to go into this. I don't even have fabrics pulled for appliques or anything like that, but I think it's delightful. And everybody I've talked to who has made it loves it, and I love it. And this is my border fabric before I forget that they belong together. Anyway, so I'm considering starting this one. No guarantees. Bird Pond is a go. This one's a tentative. Maybe I'll think about it. We'll see how I'm doing in April. And then I'm also dreaming about from Yoko Saito's Captivating Quilt Projects, which if you have not heard of her, I'll do a feature on her in another episode because her stuff is divine. She's a Japanese designer and everything she does is exquisite and sweet and perfectly executed. Anyways, this book features a series of seasonal miniature quilts and I am just gaga for them. So I would really like to, if I don't finish, at least start in April or end of March, early April, at least these two. I love this one too, but it's going to take, I really want, these are done with wovens in the border, and I'm not sure that I have that much. I have a lot of smaller pieces of wovens, but I don't think I have that yardage to be able to do a border like that. So, but I think I could make these work pretty easily. They're so pretty. They're so sweet. And I love the contrast of the applique flowers with the pieced flowers, but then hung next to each other. I just think it's really cool. It's really cool. It's almost like pixelated and, you know, not. Anyway, so I do want to, you can tell I have no fabric pulled for it. Nothing's falling out of my book. So that one takes brain power. Give me a couple weeks to start getting, let me get my sewing room back. Okay, and then I guess the last thing I'll share that's kind of swirling in my brain, I wasn't going to do, again, you know, impulsive here. But I have this bucket of beautiful, beautiful fabrics. Most of them are art gallery fabrics that I've been hoarding for a time. And I think I finally found a pattern to use them with. So here they are. Beautiful, warm. Oh, they're so, so, so beautiful. Ugh, how do I do this? And they're reading really dark because we've lost all of our light, but this is a deep, deep teal. It's a black teal, but it definitely is not black background. It's reading pretty black there. Anyways, they're so gorgeous. And then I've got all these beautiful textured low volumes. I've got a backing fabric and the pièce de résistance. Owls. Okay, we'll take everything out. That's fine. They're so pretty. And I don't have a ton of this, but I have enough so that I think I have a yard or a yard and a half or something. And I could do a border. It's so, so gorgeous. I love this fabric. I should just make pillows out of this fabric and use something else for the border. I'll do the daisies or something as the border, and these will be accent pillows. I don't know. I love it. It's gorgeous. All of these are so appealing. They're not my normal, like I'm drawn to these colors, but I don't decorate a lot with the more muted, warmer tones. I tend to be more like vomit a rainbow on my world, which my husband is, you know, tough soap sugar cakes because, yeah, they're beautiful. I love that mustard in there with everything. Just a little pop, but it's still cohesive. Fabulous. This fabric is fascinating. It's great. Anyways, so I've had these sitting isolated from everything else for at least the last 3 years. Maybe just 2. Maybe it was 2 or 3 years, something like that. Because I know I bought them while I was working at Pioneer Quilts, and but I just didn't have the right project for them. I loved them enough to purchase them, but I didn't. It's like when you buy a fat quarter stack, right? Like you don't always necessarily know what you're going to do with it. Anyways, I think what I will do, this is from an old magazine, 2007 quilt sampler, Bachelor Homes and Gardens quilt sampler, which I ripped out of the magazine years ago. But it's called Grandmother's Pride. And I think it is maybe just absolutely perfect for this project, for these fabrics. It's a similar palette, but just with a little bit more of a lean into the teals instead of the browns. I think it could be really beautiful. I would need to get a few more background fabrics. I don't have quite enough yardage based on what they're saying. I'm close, but I probably need 2 or 3 supplementary low volumes. And then I would need to find, like if I didn't use the owls for the border, I would need to find something for the border. So maybe a little bit of planning still involved, but this is leaning, like it's close enough to having everything ready to go, but I am thinking about it. So it's on my shelf of current projects because that's how close it is. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens once I get back in town and then I kick my company to the curb and reclaim my space. What is floating my boat at that point? So lots of good things coming. And always all the dreaming and planning. And like I would really like to do some kind of summery, patriotic, maybe nautical themed something this summer. I just finished an Elizabeth Hartman quilt and I like to have one of those going. So I don't have all the stuff for the produce section yet. Do I have the book here? In case you're not familiar with that. That is this produce section. It's so happy, right? Like it's so cute. Of course I'm going to do the big one because I just need a giant food quilt in my life. It's fabulous. It's going to be so much fun to do, but I don't have all the fabrics for this one yet. So I was waiting to dive deep into planning this one until I was finished with Fab Farm. So I am now officially cleared for planning that, and I'm very excited. So that'll come later this summer, and yeah, my brain is always swirling with crafty things, and it's fabulous. So I thank you for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed, and I will let you get on with your lives and stop rattling at you. And yeah, I'll be back next week with one more floss tube before I go out of town, and then I probably won't be back till April. So we'll catch you again next week, and then I'll see you on the other side. So take care, my friends. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk at you soon.